Looks like I broke my streak of user errors. Yeah, awesome. Off to a good start here today. I am Marshal Manlove. It is April 1st, 2022, and from the home studio in Middletown, Delaware, this is Delaware Sports, the interview edition, also seen on my sports reports. One of Delaware's greatest advocates for volleyball, both boys and girls, is Mr. David Lee. He's a longtime coach here in the state as well. And hopefully, when I hit this button, Mr. Lee will appear and we can talk about the game of volleyball here and its status and its future. There he is. Mr. Lee, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Put your name up there. Let's put the Dickinson Ram logo up there. There we go. Yeah, we're on a roll here. All right, well, let's talk right away about the boys volleyball season and its status here in Delaware from your perspective.
Well, we have started the competition season. We're about 2 weeks in, and we have 18 teams. Which compared to last year and the 2 years before that, we lost the season because of COVID. We operated with 11 teams on those years. So we shot up from 11 to 18. DIAA requires 16 teams in order for it to become a category or level 3 tournament sport. And so we've actually overshot that number. And we hope that right now, per the last executive board meeting, we are now categorized as a level 2 sport with the hope that if all things go well, we'll be at category or level 3 next year. And we think that there's going to be more teams, 18 this year, but there's been a lot of schools that have been talking about it. So we're hoping that it'll grow into the 20s next year when we finally do get full recognition. We don't want to take anything for granted, of course, but things are looking good. And there's been a lot of discussions. There's been just a lot of talk, and that's really a positive sign. So, yeah, that's our hope.
So just to clarify for those who might have a full grasp of what we're talking about here, when we say a class 3 sport, that means that sanctioned as a state tournament sport, correct?
That is correct. We as coaches have been managing our own end of season tournament. We've called it a lot of different names. First, it was Red Clay that was only sponsoring volleyball, so we called it a Red Clay Championship. And then some other schools in the county started joining in, and so we called it a county championship. And then we've now had to expand that term because some schools in Sussex County joined in. And so we called ourselves the Delaware High School Championship. And all those things were done by the coaches in the league and in the association, with in particular some people who have really been such a huge part of this movement, like Jeff Grickle from Salesianum and Brian Fraticelli from Charter. But there's been so many coaches. Coaches come in and out as it is with any sport, and so we've dealt with and we've welcomed a lot of different people into the league. We've got a lot of new coaches that are very enthusiastic. They say they love coaching the boys teams. We even have at Cape Henlopen, we have a former Delaware Player of the Year who is coaching there. So we're growing. We're expanding. We've now got finally got one school in Kent County and 3 in Sussex County. So those are all very positive signs. But when we become that level 3 sport, the state will take over the state tournament. They will form a tournament committee, and that tournament committee will make recommendations on how the tournament will be run and the qualifications of the tournament.
Now, the threshold was 16 teams. Now, is that for 2 years in a row? That was my recollection. Or is it just going to be the fact that we reached 18 this year, and if we have that many by the start of next year, It'll
I didn't
kind of
see
go.
anything in the bylaws that specifically said that there had to be a sustained number.
Okay.
There's something in there. I'd have to look back at the wording exactly, but we're busting through that number 16. So I don't anticipate we'll struggle with and meeting that requirement. But obviously, with anything like this, we want to sustain it, and that's a conversation we have with the association, the new teams. We talk as I've had conversations with a lot of coaches. We talk about sustainability, and one of the key components of that is to recruit the student athletes at a very young age. When they come into the high school at 9th grade or 10th grade. I've seen some schools that had like a whole squad of buddies from another team, and they just all wanted to try out volleyball. And then after a year or two, they're gone. And that school had really struggled to maintain that program. So the conversations we have is get them young and build through that, and have guys, especially students who are good citizens, who are good students. You don't have to worry about eligibility issues. You don't have to worry about discipline issues. When you get those type of kids, you can sustain those programs beyond just a year or two.
There are some middle school programs that have started also, right?
Yes, Red Clay did also sponsor middle school programs in all of their schools. Dickinson is a 6 through 12 school, and we did start a middle school team pre-pandemic, and unfortunately, again, the pandemic did cancel that 2020 season. So there are some, it's not a lot, but even Aspira Academy, which I believe is a K through 12, they also are starting a middle school program as well. And even CYM is now starting a CYM program for boys volleyball. So they're going to get even younger. So that's great news. Young men are going to be learning to play volleyball at a very early age now, and we just hope that that's going to continue to grow as well. We have a couple club programs. EC Power is running 2 teams, so there are other opportunities besides the high school to play. But yeah, the middle schools have been operating in Red Clay for a while now.
So, would you agree that one of the problems, maybe originally or throughout the years, of getting boys to play is that it's considered a girls' sport?
Yes, definitely. I've noticed that even within my program, I more often get students to come out their sophomore year rather than their freshman year. 1 year of trying to convince them that it is in fact a sport that is for all genders. It was invented by a guy, William Morgan, at the YMCA in and around Springfield, Mount Holyoke area of Massachusetts. And if you watch the game, the game can be played with a lot of different styles. But the way I coach it, I want it to be a very powerful, very athletic sport. So it lends itself to that type of player. I really do coach my girls and my boys teams very similarly, to be very athletic and to be to play above the net, so to speak. I definitely have dealt with that over the years, and if I can sell them early on that, that's when we really have strong programs within Dickinson. I'm always recruiting. I'm always trying to sell. And that's a challenge everywhere. So, this year we have a really nice my middle school program with a lot of kids out. So I'm looking forward to them. Hopefully they'll stay here. So when they join the high school, I won't have to make that sell.
Right.
But I think that's a national issue. If you look at the collegiate level volleyball, there's only about 23 Division I programs in the nation. They don't have as many scholarships. From what I understand, Division I programs have 4.5 scholarships per school. And so most often they offer 9 half scholarships to their athletes. So most of the men who are playing at the collegiate level, Division I, they're not getting full scholarship. Division III, however, has exploded over the last 5 or 6 years, and so there are probably about a dozen new programs within a 2-hour drive from Wilmington, Delaware. So it is growing. That myth is dying out. People are starting to understand that this sport is for everybody, not just for females. So, yeah, hopefully that trend continues as well.
Yeah, it's a matter of getting the best players on the TV screen so that people can see what the game's like, because it is a different game. Same thing with field hockey. Like, we really don't have any boys field hockey teams in Delaware, and I don't even know if there's many in the country. But when you watch the men play field hockey, like India and Pakistan, those traditional rivals, it is a totally different game, and it's really fascinating to watch. So, it's not up to me to market stuff, and it's really not up to you. It's up to the national club teams to kind of do that kind of stuff. But even though the skill level with the boys isn't as good as the girls at the high school level, it's still fun to watch because of the athleticism. I know a lot of soccer players come out, and you see more balls get kicked than in volleyball than you might see, just because that's how kids are used to handling a ball. And maybe some basketball players are real tall that make the action exciting at the net. But it is equally fun to watch, even though perhaps a little, let's say, not as skilled. Let's just say. So now,
well, I would say, I'm sorry, Marshall.
Go ahead.
I would say that the lack or the lesser skill is just related to just the lesser experience.
Experience, sure.
As they get more experience, like I was scrimmaging. I held a scrimmage with Charter and Salesianum, and Sally's has 3 real strong freshmen. One whom I worked with in a camp in the summer, but the skill level was there, and I would stack him as far as the floor skills, the passing skills. I would stack him against much more advanced than most freshmen in the area, guy or girl. So it really just a matter of getting them that experience. By the time a girl gets into high school, if she played in like one of the middle school programs, because there are some viable middle school programs in the state, by the time they get into middle school, they've played 3 or 4 years of volleyball. A CYM girl, she might have played 6 or 7 years before she enters into high school. So you just don't have that with the boys, but with some new developments that could change that. So I think that will look a lot different in the coming years.
So how long have you been the boys and girls head coach over at Dickinson High School now?
Well, I've been coaching the boys for this is my 27th year.
Wow.
I finished up my 26th year with the girls, of which I think 21 of them as the head coach. So this is the only high school I've ever coached in. But I've been I actually have no formal training in volleyball. I never played volleyball. I was never coached in volleyball. So it was something that I fell in love with back when I was a junior in high school. And so I was really, really blessed and very fortunate to be here at Dickinson, which is my alma mater, and to be able to be apprenticed by Jerry Zabo, who was the head coach here at the time. And I learned a lot about volleyball from him. I knew the basic skills. I just didn't know strategy. I didn't know systems. And he taught me much of what I know today, but I continued to learn more and more as I continued to travel. I got an opportunity to meet Pat Powers, who was a former gold medalist in 1984, and pick his brain a little bit. And I've gotten the chance to meet Karch Karai as well, through actually a guy from Salesianum who played who played at East Stroudsburg University. He never played for Sally's as well, because at that time there wasn't a program, or there wasn't a team there. Their program started in 2001. He graduated in 1991 and walked on to the East Stroudsburg University team. And he played about 9 years out in the tour, the AVP tour. His name was Chris Makos, and I actually sought him out because there is an AVP tour event in at Belmar Beach, New Jersey. So I just decided to take a chance and walk up to him and say, "Hey, my name's David Lee, and I'm trying to start volleyball in Delaware. Would you like to partner with me?" He was all in, and so for some of those early years, we worked together, and he was able to actually secure an interview to get into a volleyball magazine. So back in June 2003, I had a nice little article in that magazine. So that was, yeah. So, but that's how I've learned the game, just through just really picking people's brains and just watching a lot of it. And that's a great thing, is that YouTube really has allowed greater accessibility. So, but there was actually a league, there was a volleyball, it was some manifestation of a volleyball program before I started teaching here in '95. And that was actually run by Young Life, which is it's like a youth group program that operates through churches. And ironically, the guy who approached the Dickinson students who started that team, he was in my dorm freshman year, and he was from Havertown, Pennsylvania, and went to Haverford High School, which is where I would have gone to high school if I had stayed in Pennsylvania. And maybe I would have picked up volleyball. But he started that program. There's very little evidence of it, and very few people know about it, but I do keep in touch with a few of the people who participated on that team. So, yeah.
So you're a teacher at the school at Dickinson, and what are you teaching?
I teach social studies, and I teach yearbook, and I wear a couple other hats too, but those are the main things.
You're a webmaster, apparently, too.
Yes, I am the web coordinator. That is my least proficient job at Dickinson.
So who are some of the teams to watch out for in the boys' season? I know you guys, the Rams, are 3-1 currently, and who else should we watch for?
Well, the Player of the Year returns, and that player is Carson Barnes, and he leads a pretty strong Indian River team. They won the championship 2 years ago, or I guess 3 years ago, if you include the pandemic year. So 2019. But DMA is the defending champion, and they graduated no one. So I can't wait for that match. That's going to be a real exciting. Well, actually, that match already happened. That went to 5. So that one may be a preview of the finals this year. And that was at the 5th set went 15-13. Salesianum is always strong. They've won 13 championships since we've been an organized group. They are far and away the strongest program that we've had in the state for the last 2 decades. And they, as I said, they always have strong players, but they do have at least three freshmen this year that have been very strong. Charter's always strong. So between them, Cape Henlopen has been, they had a really successful first year. And I think that they're doing very well. They're undefeated right now. So I would hate to leave anybody out, because I don't want anybody to put a target on my back saying that, oh, you slighted us. But, teams like Delcastle, we played Delcastle last year twice, and they didn't win a game, but they competed in every game. And their story is great, because their coach he also never played volleyball before, and he just fell in love with the sport as an adult, and he wanted to start a team, and he got some guys together, and they didn't win a game, but they were competitive. And we played them a second time at the end of last year, and they took a set from us, and it was no fluke. And then this year we just played them on Wednesday, and they were tough, and they're very scrappy. And so teams can grow that fast. So I don't know who's going to come out in the end, but I do know that a lot of teams are going to improve, just because the history of this league, and I've obviously followed it very closely, is teams grow up very fast. We are operating a 16-team tournament this year, so only 2 teams are not going to be to make it, but we do expect that they're going to be competitive. Even the teams that don't finish, in the top 10, I fully believe that they'll be competitive by the end of the season. So,
yeah, Brandywine's 3-1. I'm going to see them take on Delaware Military this afternoon, so we'll see what that looks like. And
they're very well coached as well. So there will be some battles this year. Yeah. So shout out some of the players on your team. Give them some credit for how well they're doing here so far, and who we should watch out for if we go watch the Dickinson Rams play this year. Well, right now we're dealing with an injury to what we had prospectively had my lineup of my starting setter, a kid named Gabriel Vargas. So he hasn't been setting in practice or games yet this year. He has a thumb injury, which is very important for setters to have healthy thumbs. So my starting libero, who I may say is my best all-around player, he is actually setting right now, which is a new experience for him. So we're growing with him. Our 2 outside hitters are really our go-to guys. JP Perdomo, who has been playing since his freshman year, and then Alex Brown, who is a senior. He actually played at Conrad last year, but he is now here at Dickinson. So those are my 2 strongest hitters. And then, as it is, it's always hard to get these kids out from time to time. So I got a kid like Steve Bartnicki, who came out as a sophomore year, and we've talked about it, and he regrets not coming out his freshman year. Obviously, I look for taller kids, and he was a tall kid, and he has curly hair, and it's all the way up here. And so, I'd automatically try to recruit him. But Steven is one of our senior leaders, and I think our middles over some time will gain that necessary experience to be strong. So I would say, with Daniel Porter and Jack Cottrell, and I have one little X factor. He's short, about 5'6", but he has a 34-inch vertical, and right now he's just playing some back row. But Jake Tyler, I think I could plug him into a few different positions, and he would be successful. So we still have a lot of room to grow, and we still have some inexperience. So I look forward to continuing to work with them and seeing them grow. And but there's definitely a few teams ahead of us, and we're gonna have to work for everything we get. So.
And how about for your girls team come the fall? How are you looking there as far as returning players and projections?
Well, I thought that this was going to be a rebuilding season for us this past fall, and it was to some degree. I graduated 7 seniors from our conference championship team, and then last year I was able to get one of my players who went to DMA her freshman year. She played as an 8th grader for me, and then she came back as a 10th grader. But the strength of our team right now is mostly our sophomores and a freshman who was voted captain by her peers. So next year, Molly Campion, who had a concussion last year, and we didn't adjust quickly enough when she became concussed. But she's probably my best all-around player. She can hit, she can block, she can pass. But right now, we were really, really being careful with her last year.
Sure.
So she didn't set for most of the season. But a girl named Ami Plymeyer stepped in and set for her, even though she's not very tall and she can't really block. But for our conference, it's okay. We can manage. There's some great players in our conference, but it's not the strongest conference from top to bottom. But we're able to compete in that conference between Molly, Ami, Gretchen, who was the one that came back from DMA, and then Maylee Solar Oganowski, who's my freshman. Those four, and then I got a really spunky player named Kayleen Kuster. And then I've got some complementary players that hopefully will call up from the JV or played a complementary role on varsity. So I fully believe that we can compete for the conference, and I definitely would like a better showing in the tournament if we are fortunate enough to make it next year.
Well, before we go here, I just want to pay you some compliments. I think you're one of the best coaches in the state.
Thank you.
It's always fun to watch you coach. Of course, I referee, so I get to see you pretty often. And even when I was doing my television show, would watch you motivate your teams, boys and your girls teams. You're one of the greatest advocates for the sport in the state, and you're also one of the state's greatest sportsmen as well. Whenever we talk about like who's a good sport, we get about sportsmanship honors and considerations. You are always the first person that I think of. It's definitely a privilege to watch you work, and I'm honored to know you, and I'm so glad that you took some time out of your busy day to come visit me and talk about volleyball here today.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. I wanted to do this so that we could just help boys volleyball grow, and thank you for your array of questions as well.
So if there's somebody out there who might be watching that this is interested in volleyball, perhaps coaching at the high school or even middle school level, and wants to know how to go about doing that, how can they go about doing so?
Oh, well, you can email me. Obviously, if you are already connected with a school, just talk to the athletic director, and that will get the ball rolling. You can email me at david.lee@redclayschools.com. We also do have, for the boys volleyball, we do have a Facebook page that I am the what do you call it?
Coordinator.
The moderator for. And if you send a message through that Facebook page, it's DE Boys VB. I think it's DE Boys VB or V-Ball. I will get a direct message from that. But the important part, if you look at the schools that are in the league right now, a lot of them started with just students meeting together and organizing, finding an advocate within their building. Right now, like for example, one of the schools that didn't quite get where it needed to go, but is close, was Odessa. And Odessa, I ran a camp in the summer with the University of Delaware men's club. So they came into our gym. They did all the coaching. We had a couple of former, just recent Delaware high school graduates also participate as coaches in the camp. And I don't know exactly how they found out, but two young men who were ninth graders now at Odessa, they came to the camp. They did a great job. We talked, and one of them in particular, this was a stepping stone to being the manager of the girls team. And he did a lot of work to try to drum up interest at Odessa. And the administration wasn't quite ready to commit, but I think that if everything goes well and like it should, they should be able to have a serious conversation for next year. So that's the kind of conversations that I have with young people, with adults, coaching perspectives. If you're a coach in the girls' league and you want to become a head coach and you don't want to step on anybody's toes, starting a boys team is a great way to do that. And I took that model from a guy named Craig Boston, who was the assistant coach at, I believe it was Sacred Heart University, and then he was the boys coach. I ran into him when I used to help out with her name was Amanda. Oh gosh, what was her name? She was the former Wilmington University coach, and I helped her out, and I got to meet Craig, and so it's a lot of these connections.
Moran.
It just
Amanda Moran. Yeah.
Amanda Rand. Sorry about that. It's been a while.
Yeah, yeah.
We had this is the kind of conversations that I have with everybody. It's always focused on, hey, let's start a boys team. So so if you do run into me and I have that, I start that conversation that way. I apologize if you don't want to do it, but that's just my mindset, and I've been kind of driven to do that since I got into the league. And so and I always say, like, when I first started coaching, the only reason I wanted to coach was just so that there were more people to play with, like, recreationally. Just not there was a dearth of male players in the state of Delaware, and now there's more. And this league has a lot to do with that. It's not the only reason, of course, but I noticed that a lot of even the male head coaches of high school teams, a lot of them had very little playing experience. Like the coach here at Dickinson was a guy named Marty Krasavage, and he was the gym teacher. So that was his experience. And and there were so many other coaches, male coaches, who had that same story. They'd never played volleyball. They were a gym teacher, or they just, they had to learn on the job. And so we want to be able to, and those former players, they're going to become coaches of both girls and boys teams. So it hopefully just continues to build and grow the sport in the state of Delaware with qualified, knowledgeable people who are able to take their teams to a good level. So if people want to email me, I'd be happy to field your email and begin that conversation.
So a school would give preference to somebody within the school itself, but a person doesn't necessarily have to be a teacher or administrator in the school to coach, correct?
I don't think so. Like, I'll give you an example of Indian River. Indian River started their program because the girls coach, I was on the girls state tournament committee for about 13 years. And so one of our responsibilities as a tournament committee member, we have to have at least 2 representatives at every state tournament match. So I'll go there, I'll sit and watch the game. I'm a fan, of course. And then at the end of the match, we hand a game ball to the losing team, and then the winning team moves on. And so for the first time, I got to meet Jim Barnes at Tower Hill. It was in Indian River was playing at Tower Hill. And I noticed that his son was on the court, and he was helping with the warm-ups. And his son was about 6'2", 6'3". Coach Barnes was about 6'2", 6'3", and you could tell the son had played volleyball before. And he's now playing at the University of Delaware on their club team.
Oh, okay.
But we started a conversation from that. Jim really wanted a program for his son, and he had another son coming up too. And his second son is that defending player of the year, and he just spent time in Thailand on an international tournament. So
oh, wow.
I mean, he's an amazing player.
Yeah.
So between him and Zach Johnson, they're the 2 guys that are really the cream of the crop of the state from DMA. Zach is, and so that was how the conversation started. And he is not a teacher. He sells security systems. But because he was the girls' coach, and because he had 2 sons that were on the team or wanted to play high school volleyball, so he just kept working with the community, the parents who were interested, and they, through petitioning the athletic department and the administration and the school board, they were able to get it done with a 2-year pilot program. And after 2 years, the second year they won the championship. And so everybody involved in the Indian River community was sold. This is a viable program, and Jim's a good coach. He definitely knows the game, and I go down there, and those guys, they seem like they grow so fast, like they improve so fast. So so that's a similar story. Like Jen Johnson, she's at DMA. Her 2 sons play for her. So she's not a teacher at DMA. She's a teacher at the Newark Charter Elementary School. But so there's that. So there are plenty of people. There are plenty of people who are teachers in the building, but there's equally others that are not associated with the school except for volleyball. But they might have been the girls' coach and then transitioned to do both, as Jen Skinner is at Conrad, Danny Wanless, who is a teacher also, I believe, at Smyrna. He's one of the new guys. So yeah, anybody can do it.
Yep. All right. Fantastic. All right. Well, I know you have someplace to go. I got to go ref a match myself, and well, I think I got to wash my shirt. So, and I think by this point, the only people watching are our wives. It was very good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Lee.
You're welcome.
I will see you somewhere out there pretty soon.
All right. Take care.
Right, sir. Take care. Have a great day. Best of luck to you and your team and your endeavors recruiting teams for the Boys Volleyball League. Take great care. Have a good weekend.
Great. Bye-bye.
That's a good guy right there. I'm telling you. David Lee. He's a special man. There is no doubt. There is no doubt about that. Let's see. What else can we talk about here right now? Let's do this. Because this is brought to you by me, ladies and gentlemen, Marshal Manlove, stage hypnotist. If you would like a funny, fascinating, and memorable experience, check out my website at marshalmanlove.com. Find out all about my comedy hypnosis show. And mention that you saw this ad here, and I will give you some sort of discount for hiring me to do one of my shows for you anywhere around the country, not just here in Delaware. Of course, this is the local version of our show, but I do travel all around the country, from Atlantic City, New York City, Las Vegas, internationally as well. So that's marshalmanlove.com. And also, if you're looking to buy or sell a home in Delaware, Maryland, or Pennsylvania, I can help you out with that. I'm licensed in all 3 states. That's right. I have 4 jobs, if you have successfully counted them all up by now. And you can reach me there at marshalmanlove.foxroach.com. That's the website there. Or you can just reach me at mysportsreports@gmail.com. Anything of interest that you would like to send to me, sports related, just send that to me at mysportsreports.com. I think that you have probably seen the ticker along the bottom here. And that's my address right there. So I want to thanks again to David Lee from Dickinson High School, the head boys and girls volleyball coach there, and special man, special advocate for the sport. It's his efforts primarily, and a couple of the other guys that he mentioned who have driven this sport to its current numbers, and hopefully it'll be a DIAA sanctioned event with an official state tournament hopefully next year. And then we'll see if I make predictions about who might win, and see if I can ref in the state tournament if they have one next year. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am Marshal Manlove, and now, come on, here we go. I'm gone. Have a great day.